So I'm going to do the basic manual. It's organize your speech. And it's going to be impromptu, so organizing a speech is very challenging on an impromptu speech. 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Timer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call 500 attorneys at the bottom of the ocean? A good start. You've all heard this joke. Well, I went to Michigan this week. That's why I wasn't here for the meeting last week. I went to Michigan. And why did I go to Michigan? Because I had a client whose brother had been keeping the estate of their father open for 18 years. His father died 20 years ago, and the brother was running the estate for 18 years and milking the estate by taking out $150,000 a year in legal fees, in management fees, all kinds of fees. So in 20 years at $150,000 a year, that's $3 million. Why would you want to close an estate with $3 million? But the subject of this speech is not about the brother-in-law, the brother, his half-brother, immoral activities, and I believe there were illegal activities, which I was trying to find, but it was about the attorneys. There's all these attorneys, and they're all doing one thing. You know what that was? Ka Ching, Ka Ching, Ka Ching, Ka Ching, Ka Ching. They're all running up legal bills.
Yep.
What I didn't feel was that they cared. There was no caring. It was obvious to all of them that the brother was ripping off my clients. But their positions were, I'm neutral, and this is a mediation. Well, you got to settle the case, because if you fight the case, it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're going to end up with less money. So settle the case, settle the case, settle. And that was what they were pushing. So they're pushing settling the case. But there was some undercurrent here. I'm going to use real numbers. Can you handle this? The other side, who had the attorney, and the attorney was scum. Okay. The brother may be immoral, but the attorney was scum, because she would devise all these methods for taking advantage of my client. She offered at one point $1,850,000. And one of the mediators, and she wanted to leave conditions in it. And one of the mediators says, well, why don't you offer her $1,800,000 and take out all the conditions, and we'll get this thing done. And I'm going, no. I want $1,900,000 and no conditions. And the condition, one of the conditions was there was some money that was in another fund, and she was like going to keep that money. And I'm going, wait a minute, there's prepaid taxes, there's this. And I figured there's probably $100,000 of money that should go to him. But they were like pushing this point. And to offer less than what she offered and leave the conditions, and the $50,000 reduction was to get her to drop all the other conditions. So it would be done, and I'm going, it's going to be done. We're so close that it's going to be done. Why shouldn't I argue for every penny? Because she's got to settle as much as he's got to settle. We're only arguing about the amount. They're pushing to do this. So I told my client the night before, don't say a word. I says, if you open your mouth, it's going to cost you $50,000. So at this point, they're badgering him to make this offer of $1,800,000 less when her offer was $1,850,000. And he said, okay. And I looked at him and I said, $50,000. She then accepted the offer. It's interesting. I'm talking about the attorney accepting the offer, not the brother. Then they write up the contract. And I'm reading over this agreement. And I said, and he was worried about when's he going to get the money, and if the sale of the property in the estate didn't go through, he still wanted his money. And they go, no, this is drop dead. You're going to get the money January 11th regardless. And I'm reading the agreement over, and I go, I don't see anything in here about a penalty for not paying by January 11th. And given the opposite side, she'll get the money, put it in the bank, and say, let it sit there for another 2 years. What do you mean drop dead? Oh, she could do it. Are you trying to tell me she has integrity? She has no integrity. She said openly that my client wanted to give Willard's client money, but I wouldn't let him give the money. And we would have dealt much nicer with the client if Willard wouldn't have been around. It's because of Willard. Right, because of Willard was sitting there going, you want him to sign that and give away his life? No. She couldn't stand me being around because I knew what she was doing, and she couldn't fool anything. So here again, they had this point. There's no penalty. I said, I want a $200,000 penalty for not paying on time. I want 10% interest accruing for not paying on time. And I want legal fees for collection. 3 points. What do the two mediators have on their face? They're angry at me because they were done. And I'm like throwing this in as a problem. And then they went back and forth, just me and her negotiating. She'd only give a $5,000 late charge, but she'd pay 10% interest and she'd pay the legal fees. So that's the way it settled up. But the attorneys were like, she's going to pay it. And I'm going, you're talking to me about a woman who has no morals, no ethics, no nothing, who you've all admitted to me that everybody hates her. The judge hates her, the attorneys hate her, everybody hates her. What goes on in these minds of these guys? They just want to get up there and say, we got a settlement for you. And this is what makes them proud. Equitable settlement? He got cheated out of $3 million. So, what is 500 attorneys at the bottom of the lake or at the bottom of the ocean? It's not a good start. It's not even a drop in the bucket, Mr. Toastmaster.